Public Works Committee. It's February 12th. The sun is shining in Coeur d'Alene, and I'm here with Ms. Miller and Mr. English. So for our opening tonight, we have Chief Kenny Gabriel. Chief?
Good afternoon. I will apologize to begin with for my voice. It will be going away, and Randy can pinch hit for me if it completely goes away, but we'll try to get through this. What we have in front of you is a resolution for EF recovery, a little bit of history on that. Back in 2005, we had a company come to us saying that they could provide us a product that we use on spills from car accidents. And if we bought one case or one pallet of this material, when it was gone, we would turn in some paperwork, then they would send us another pallet of this for free. We just had to buy the first one, and then into perpetuity, we would get it for free. That kind of evolved into a process in which we could charge for services for hazard mitigation on auto accidents. And in the last 13 years, we've gained a little bit over $100,000 on that program. It's not making us rich by any means, but it is a great way for us to pay for some of the supplies that we need. And they've kind of broadened that program to where we can do other types of standbys like natural gas and even investigations, stuff that is not an accident, but something that's caused by somebody else. We haven't addressed that yet, but one thing we found is that through the insurance companies, if there's not a resolution with council for this, that they're not allowing the billables to go through. So it doesn't change the contract we've had since 2005. What it does is it just gives us that second layer of the insurance companies looking at that, seeing that there is a resolution, so they're more apt to paying all the bills. Legals look through it. They're comfortable with it. This is being done all around the United States. And everybody who has signed those contracts years ago are coming through with the resolutions as well.
Kiki, any questions?
No, I think it makes sense. We chatted about this a little bit, but I want to be clear. So who EF is helping is the city recoup insurance from the responsible party, or who's the money that they're helping recover from?
From whoever got in the wreck.
Okay.
So
that insurance company
correct,
is saying
yes.
if there's a professional mitigation service in the middle, they're
Right.
paying out.
And one thing we don't do is we don't see the fire department being in the collection business. So if somebody doesn't have insurance, the last thing we want to do is send a
Deal with that.
collection agency to them. We don't have anything to do with that. We've said
Okay.
no to that.
Okay. That's clear. Thanks.
You're welcome.
Yeah, no, it makes sense. It's kind of like a user fee for that kind of a thing. So if we can charge a little for the cost of the operation, that's great. So
So a couple questions, Kenny. So you used to get all the stuff for free. Do you still get it for free?
We do, yes, sir.
And they give you money?
Correct.
So they take a percentage of whatever
Yeah.
they collect?
They do.
Okay,
Yeah, that's the service they provide.
service. Pretty cool. So you guys are going to expand that?
The administrator and I have been in conversation for a while. People paid their taxes already, so we don't want to double tax them. That's my word, not his by any means, but we'll take a look at some stuff. Well, we do have the ability to.
Well, I'll look for a motion.
I'd make a motion to recommend council approval of a resolution authorizing the fire department to sign an agreement with EF Recovery LLC for the purpose of enhancing the recovery of costs incurred in responding to spills from auto accidents and other incidents.
Second.
Moving second. Any other thoughts, comments? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None? Consent, please.
Thank you,
Thanks,
sir.
Kenny.
Thank
Hope
you.
you're feeling better.
Thank you.
Next up, all the way from the sewer treatment plant, oh, we don't call it that, sorry, wastewater treatment plant, Mike Becker. Welcome, Mike.
Good afternoon, council, and thank you for the opportunity to present our findings. What you have before you is a staff report from the wastewater utility on the bid results for this year's cured in place pipe project. Similar to previous years, we have done a category B bidding process where we pre-qualify contractors because this is specialized work. We did advertise. We did have two successful pre-qualified bidders, and bids were opened on January 30th. Within the staff report is a breakdown of the pre-qualified contractors' bids, as well as the engineer's estimate. And after our review of the bids, we have found the lowest responsive bid has come from In Situ Form Technologies LLC. We do have this on this year's budget. We do have the available funds to pay for this project. In Situ Form has done this CIPP work with the city of Coeur d'Alene in the past to the wastewater utility satisfaction. And with that, we recommend accepting the bid and award the contract to In Situ Form Technologies LLC for 2018 cured in place pipe project in the amount of $465,434. And with that, I will take any questions.
Hey, Dan, any questions for Mike?
Well, just with the difference between the bid estimate and all of that, you said you've got it in the budget. How much did we put in the budget?
We budgeted this year $750,000 for the rehab and
Oh, so
replacement
for
projects.
multiple projects.
That entails everything that the wastewater utility might experience throughout the year. Typically, we try to keep it within $500,000 to almost $600,000 of available funds for things that we discover along the way as these projects reveal themselves to us.
And if we did this one, would this be the only project like this where you're doing the pipe in the pipe this year?
We are actually doing a repair job on one of our interceptor pipes that has shown a tremendous amount of distress. And given its location right next to City Hall and our park here, we're using part of this project to help coordinate that repair at the same time, so we're able to cookie cutter and share some costs on that. That project's scheduled to be done by May 31st, prior to our greatest use of our park facility down here.
Kiki?
Mine was just a follow-up to that. So is this a typical range that this company would be over? Is this a reflection of the economy? Or it just seems like if we're estimating, the engineer's estimate is 250 to 350, and we're like 30+% over that for the low bid.
Well, we have to keep in mind this year, this is a slightly different project that requires different work scope. We have never actually jumped in the trenches to rehab our large diameter pipes. And this pipe is a 30-inch pipe right here next to City Hall. And this is a large diameter pipe that has experienced some distress through the years, and we're also repairing it. And part of it is nowhere in the inland Pacific Northwest have we used the curing technology that we're using here now. To help paint the easier picture to remember is that of how we're approaching this problem is that we are going to be rerouting the sewer essentially. Basically, a quarter of our sewer flows are going to be rerouted in order to do this project. It also, to cure this pipe, requires pressure and heat. And typically we use air pressure, and we heat it up, then we control the temperature as it cools. Well, because the wall thickness of this pipe is very fragile, we're using something called a water curing process. And what it does is instead of using air temperature, it's using liquid to control that heat and pressure. Similar to how a water balloon if you were to blow a balloon and put it in a box, it's going to apply pressure to the contact points on the box and not evenly. It'll be greatest at those pressure points. Well, if you put a water balloon in a box, it's going to form up to the shape of the box where you have more of a uniform pressure. All of this is relatively new technology. And the reason why we're employing this is because we have a section of pipe that really needs to be carefully rehabilitated here. Otherwise, the consequences could be a lot more dire.
So I guess I'm just trying to go down the dollar rabbit hole here, and so what I'm hearing, and tell me if this is not what you said, is that this is new technology, and so the engineer's estimate when you let this particular out was a pretty wide variable in the first place, and then it was even larger to the lowest bidder because it's new technology?
It's not
It's
new.
not predictable? I'm not, I guess, for me, in looking at what, to be fiscally logical about it, I'm kind of going, how can you take the percentages of this small of a bid and then budget for it if you're saying we're trying to put 6 or 7 in the budget every year, and this is almost 5 of that, but the engineer's estimate was so much lower than what even the low bid came in. So I'm just trying to see how that all shakes out, or if it's just a little bit, because if it's a specialized piece of technology, that it's just a little bit more variable?
It is more variable, and it is very specialized. When we reviewed this, the only thing we had to go on was this technology has been applied at Portland and Seattle, but they did it to 6-foot diameter pipes. And so we tried an economy to scale
Oh.
of half of that. And the two aren't really apples to apples. Still requires additional specialized work. And one of the key things that I heard you say, Councilman Miller, is that it's specialized. And part of the reason we pre-qualified these contractors, ordinarily we'd have a great deal more contractors bidding on this. These are the only 2 contractors that have done this work, and so they're familiar with it. And when we originally reached out to them, they were apprehensive of giving us a number, so we reached out to other municipalities on what it is that they have done. And we feel that this is the best fit. It minimizes the liability to the city should something go wrong out there. We think that this is a win-win-win. Yes, I don't normally like gobbling up this much of our rehab budget for this, but we definitely need to address this particular section of pipe. And once we have this done, the life of the pipe should be extended another 100 years, so hopefully the next guy doesn't have to contend with this.
Okay, that cleared up a couple things, and it does sound like you're doing the due diligence on that, and so I appreciate that explanation.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think that helps explain it, and it kind of sounds like, well, there weren't really very many comps, and for the next time you have to do it, the engineer will have something a little bit more to go for this size of diameter, so.
Sure.
Anyway, I'm fine.
Move on, right. Thanks, Mike.
Thank you.
For a motion? You make a motion?
Well, I will make a motion to recommend council approve the award of bid for the City of Coeur d'Alene's wastewater utilities 2018 cured-in-place pipe project to Instituform Technologies LLC for a total of $465,434.
I'll second.
Moved and second. Any other thoughts, comments? All those in favor say aye.
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 Consent, please. All right, Kyle Marine, getting a lot of FaceTime lately. Kyle, welcome. Poked a hole, now he's got a tank, or wait, we did a
Yeah.
tank and now we're poking a hole, right?
Yeah, well, we're
Yeah.
not poking a hole, we're gonna try to fix one, actually. So, I bring before you, the Landings Well rehabilitation. Little bit of quick history, hopefully this will clear up some questions that you might have. It was drilled in 2004 to a depth of 360 feet and could pump roughly around 3,000 gallons a minute. In 2013, we did a scheduled rehabilitation of the well. Within 2 months of that rehabilitation, we had a catastrophic failure. The exact failure is unknown still at this time, but we believed it happened around 140 feet down. We're not sure if it was the shaft, the column, or the motor. There's been some arguments between each one of the manufacturers on whose fault it actually was, including the installer. and that was resulting in the complete replacement of the shaft, column, pump, and motor. At this time, we're experiencing vibrations at 140 feet, roughly plus minus, the same area which it failed before. Some pictures of the previous replacement. That's the column stainless steel shaft that's been bent 2 5/16. Those are roughly 175 pounds apiece per 5-foot section. So that's a very big piece of steel that got just wrapped around in the weld. These are some of the new spider bearings that hold that shaft when it went back in. This is a picture of some of the column shaft that goes in, and then the new casing that went into the well. At this time, with the vibrations of the well, we want to get back in there and make sure we can take care of those problems before they happen again. So staff is requesting council approve the award of bid to Specialty Pump for the service replacement. Any questions?
Let me ask you some. I remember when that thing exploded, it was ugly.
It was
ugly.
bad,
There was
yes, sir.
stuff everywhere, right? All bent up and tweaked and never figured out why, huh? And now it's vibing again. Is there a water monster at 140
That very well could be, I'm not sure.
poking their finger in there, you know?
I'd like to go in and find out.
So 24-inch, it looks big. Is that normal? Is that your?
That's our normal pipe size, yes, sir.
And it's not deeper than any other well.
No, it's about average, right to the aquifer. We hit the water line, we go so many feet below it before we set the pump, and then we go up from there.
My notes say, what's wrong with that well?
We have some theories, but like I said, there's a bunch of arguments on whose fault it exactly was.
So you're basically going to rebuild it, pull
Well,
all the...
we're going to go into it and see if we can find the problem and replace the parts that are causing the problem. Hopefully, it's a misbalance in the shaft or the spider bearings. Normally, you're replacing 1 or 2 of those and a replacement. On a full replacement, you're looking at a lot higher cost. When that went down, that was roughly $140,000 to completely rebuild the well from top to bottom.
Did we have some motor problems too, on that?
Well, after it was done, yes, the motor was toast, the column was toast, the shaft actually came unscrewed, dropped to the bottom of the well. I've got some better pictures of the damage that was done. It was pretty catastrophic. It was a mess. The whole interior well house was completely black and burnt. Panels were burnt up. I'm glad nobody was in there when it happened.
Crazy. The questions, you guys?
One. So Kyle, is the city in litigation with these manufacturers, and would a decision to move forward with this affect that in any way?
For the insurance purposes on the damage. The insurance companies settled out, however they settled out, with going after the motor manufacturers or the column manufacturers of the shaft, the pump, including the original installer. Whatever they decided, we've got paid out and had it replaced, but at this time, the warranty's up, so
Okay.
there's not much we can do to go after anybody.
Okay.
Dan?
Sounds like you got to do it, so.
Wild. Okay, your turn.
Okay, I will recommend that council approve the award of the bid for the Landings Well Pump Rehabilitation Project to Specialty Pump Service, Inc. I think that's the sole successful bidder,
Correct,
not the sole. They were the sole source for that.
correct.
And for the sum of $50,034, and authorize a contract budget not to exceed $88,000.
Second?
So you can go on, if you find stuff, you have some money to work with to fix it as you go.
Correct. Base bid, hopefully we'll go in and find a small problem, get it corrected. Worst case scenario, like some of those spiders and stuff in there, we've got those itemized out, so it's a calculated cost. If it, worst case scenario, which we don't suspect by any means, we shouldn't have any problems.
And those would just be change orders, not a contract that has to come back, right?
Correct.
Just thinking about 13 years you got out of this one? Is that kind of what it works out to?
Yeah,
Is that, I mean, are we having to fix, do you get vibes and have to do things, or is this a little heavier duty? that
this
you have
one's a
to-
little heavier duty. It's just unusual. We do annual maintenance to all our wells and we monitor them. We do vibration tests on all our wells. This one, like I said, come back. We're getting vibrations about 140 feet. Our other wells, if we come across a similar problem or something, we'll look into it. We haven't. So that's why this one's back on the block. Normally, this one would go several more years before we do a rehabilitation on it.
So with that, I will look for all
We
those in
did- oh,
favor?
A vote?
Oh,
Aye,
yeah,
okay,
yeah.
aye.
Aye,
Aye.
aye. Put that on consent. Thanks.
Thank you.
Look for adjournment.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, aye. We're done. Thank you, everyone.
Good job.
Jeez.